Welcome to the ET380 how-to video for Lab 2, the test equipment lab. Okay, let's build a circuit so we could get our readings. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to grab our Tektronix oscilloscope. And if we open it up, it's identical to the one we use in the lab. And we're going to go ahead and use the built-in function generator. And let's go ahead and get some ground. So we're going to just click up here and we're going to go to power sources, ground. Okay. And we're going to go to the center. Otherwise, we're not going to get a good connection. Let's get rid of that. And let's pull it down to make sure that we have it. So let's go ahead and go to our first channel, to our scope, our function generator, sine wave. We want, go to kilohertz, and I think we want 20, yes, 20 kilohertz, and we want 10 volts peak to peak. This is peak, so we're going to have to divide it in half. Good. So let's go ahead and start our simulation, open up our scope. Turn it on, and 5 volts is good, so let's spread out our time so we could actually see the good. So let's go ahead and go to single sequence, and let's see if we count the boxes. We got 5, so we got 10 volts peak to peak. So let's go to measure and confirm it. So channel 1, we're going to go to, we're going to go peak to peak, good, back. Let's go channel 1 again, and let's go to frequency, good, it's already there. So we have 9.98 volts, peak to peak, 20 kilohertz, so good, we have it. Okay, I cut out our oscilloscope display in case we couldn't see it in the smaller. So if we look here, we have our sine wave, and it is 9.98 volts peak to peak and 20 kilohertz frequency. It's exactly what we asked for. Okay, let's continue on to the second experiment, and let's go ahead and save this so we can use it in the future. Call it test equipment 1. And let's go back and reset our function generator. Now we want 5 volts peak. Okay, so yeah, we have 5 volts peak. And we want 15 kilohertz. So let's go ahead and change this to 15. Oops. This is good. Since this is not our function generator in class, we're going to go ahead and get a signal source, and we're going to use a clock voltage. And let's go ahead and grab another ground since we're here. Now connect the wire, click wire. Okay, so it doesn't say, so when we use our function generator in the classroom, it's using the same frequency if we use both outputs. So since we don't have the same machine, 5 duty cycle, good. And let's go ahead and start it up and see if we actually have a TTL here, being it's a clock, and I'll show you the difference here. So start our simulation, open up our scope, turn on our oscilloscope, run stop, and we have 5 volts, 15 kilohertz, peak to peak is 10, So 5 volts peak would be 10 volts. It'd be the same. So now let's open up channel 2 and let's go ahead and dial him in at 5 volts per division. Good. And as you see, a TTL goes from 0 to 5 volts instead of the peak to peak 5 volts. So we're just going from 0 to 5 TTL, and that looks good. Oops. And I did something here. What happened? Let's go ahead and try again. There it goes. I don't know what I hit, but it turned it off. There we go. Single sequence. So there's our output. Let's go back to measure. So channel 1, 9, or 10 volts, frequency 15. So let's go ahead and open up channel 2. And let's see what we got here. Let's go to max, 5 volts max. That'll work. All right, we got 5 volts. That's what we want. Okay, here's a close-up of our oscilloscope output. And you see our yellow sine wave and our blue TTL. And we have the correct peak-to-peak voltage, frequency, and our maximum 5 volts. So this would be a standard TTL signal at the same frequency as our... Okay, let's do the next experiment. So we want a 1.5 kilohertz. Put a decimal point there, and we want a triangular wave, 5 volts peak to peak. 5 volt peak is there. That's what we want. Triangular wave, good. And we're going to take our port, tie it back into our test port. So I removed all the TTL circuit, and let's start. Okay, so you see the triangular wave, and it's triggered off channel 2, channel 1, so channel 2 is out of sync. So let's go to our trigger menu, and let's go to channel 2, and if I take this guy and move it where it's not touching, we lose sync. So let's go ahead and take the blue arrow and touch the circuit, and now they're in sync. So that is triggering. So you want to have the blue arrow at the blue, yellow arrow at the yellow. So let's go ahead and go to single sequence so we can take a picture of that, and we lost it. And let's turn it off and on, and we should get it back. Yes, good. Okay, I've taken our oscilloscope and put it on our page here that we could see it, and we have our sine wave and our test signal, our TTL signal, coming out of our probe. So yeah, this is what we want to see.